Okay. So the live stream today chose to do something that it's never done before on YouTube. Oh, good lord. Okay. Sorry. I got in here and I did what I always do, and it said I had to do some extra thing, and I didn't know what that extra thing was it was talking about, so I had to figure that out because they changed the rules on me at the last second. All right, so hey everybody. Hi everybody. Give me just a second to kind of put this out there for people's. All right. Yeah, give me just 1 second. I'm gonna share all this on the on the thing. I'm gonna share it on the thing. Talk amongst yourselves. And now Jake hears me talking. He's decided to come over and whine at me. What are you gonna whine about, buddy? I don't need a reason to whine. I just whine. All right. Apologize, guys. These things always just kind of start the way they start. They just start the way they start. Don't know what else to tell you. Hang on. So I'm sharing it right now with the paid members on YouTube. And now I need to share it real quick with Patreon, just to make sure everybody sees it. I know this is what you came over here for. I really wanted to watch Joe post stuff on his computer and not even interact with us, and not even talk about anything interesting. This is what I signed up for. Thanks, Joe. Okay, almost done, almost done. Okay. Okay, good morning, everybody. It's morning here anyway. Let me bounce back over here so I can see all the stuffs. Cool. Let's see what we got in this chats. Here's Michael Burke, Paul, Wesley. Hey, Wesley, how you doing, man? Indie Sports Car, how's you doing? John Regal, or Regil? I'm going to say Regal. Regal. Andrew, Sean. Hey, Sean, how's it going? Yeah, cool. Well, all right. Like always, I don't really have a plan here, but something I thought I would do that I thought about doing last week and then just didn't do it was taking some of the videos that have come out in the last month or so, since the last time we did a live stream, and just kind of, talk about them and give you a little behind the scenes, see if there's some stuff that was left out from when I was doing it, stuff that I might have learned that I didn't know before. You can ask questions about them, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I thought we could kind of start like that. And if you guys have questions, load them up in the chat there, and I'll respond to them. We'll do this in about next hour and a half, whatever. And I actually have I have some videos to record after this. I've got 2 that are going to be covering the Thursday videos over the next couple of weeks. I will be traveling over the next couple of weeks. Some of you may know that. Some of you may not. It's been a real crunch for the last month, really, just trying to get caught up and ahead of things, which I have to say I'm happy I've been able to. I really would like at some point to start doing these sort of almost in seasons or series. I know a lot of YouTubers or a lot of YouTube channels, when they get to be about this size and bigger, they start to do things in series, almost like TV seasons or something. So it might be a matter of shooting 3 to 4 months at a time, and then kind of releasing those as you go. I don't know that I would get to that point until I have a much bigger team around this, but it's an interesting idea, and it would be nice to be able to take a week or two to to relax every once in a while. I always tell people like this is a great it's a great job to have. It's the best job I've ever had by far, and I'm loving it. But every rose has its thorn, and the thorn here is that you don't get any time off, like at all. I don't even get weekends. It's just constantly doing it. I ran across a video from a YouTuber named Lindsay Ellis, and I don't know how I'd never heard of her before, but she does a lot of like cultural stuff, pop culture, criticism, reviews, that kind of thing. But she's really smart. She's one of these like long form video essay type people. Anyway, I ran across her channel, and I'm like, I don't know how I've never heard of her, but she did one on YouTube that was it was really good, and she had an interview with Hank Green, who I'm sure many of you know and maybe follow. He does the SciShow and all that kind of stuff, the Vlogbrothers. And he said something that I really identified with. He was basically talking about how he doesn't know what relaxing is anymore, and he doesn't know what working is anymore, and doesn't know what relaxing is anymore. He doesn't know how to turn it off. It's just always there. And I was like, yeah, I feel that. It's just, yeah, I don't know how to just stop doing this, and so I've got to take a little time to go somewhere and relax and not do it if I can. Anyway, also I wanted to let you guys know I had the choice this morning of taking a shower or getting coffee before I did this, and I chose to get coffee. So my hair is just going to be a little goofy. Apologize for that. Okay. Let's see. And if anybody's watching this on the Patreon page and leaving comments on the Patreon page, I encourage you, please, to actually go to the YouTube channel and post in the live chat, because as I learned last time, I can't bounce back and forth between the two websites to check all the comments and stuff. I'm just going to have to go off the live chat. So if you're on the Patreon page and you're watching it on the little window, there's a little YouTube logo down at the bottom. You may have to scroll over the video for it to pop up. But click on the little YouTube logo and it'll take you to the YouTube page. Okay, so let's go back and look at some of the videos that happened in the last week or last month or so. So let's see. Going back to May. So it's the end of May, isn't it? Well, it's actually June 1st. It's June 1st. So starting in May, the first video I did in May was the LiDAR versus computer vision. So that was basically talking about the Waymo versus Tesla way of doing things. That one did all right. Got almost 200,000 views. I don't know if there's anything that I kind of learned in that I didn't put in that video, and it's already been so long I've forgotten what all was in it. I don't know, like any feedback you guys have on thoughts that you had on the whole LiDAR versus computer vision thing, please do share it in the thing, and we can chat about it. Yeah, basically what it came down to for me was until they have some kind of solid state LiDAR that is 1,000 times cheaper, I just don't see it really becoming a thing. But it really, to me, comes down to two different sort of business modalities or whatever, like Waymo and Uber. They want to have a fleet of autonomous cars that go around, whereas Tesla is more like, let's sell it to the consumer. So Waymo is really more like selling it to companies that want to create like taxi fleets, and Tesla is all about just selling it to the consumer and then using like an Uber model or a ride-sharing model to kind of have a Tesla network kind of thing through that. And it all just kind of comes down to I guess what your philosophy is on how this should work. Tesla is all about the data. They've gotten all this data together, and Waymo is. I do feel like the LiDAR is a crutch. Tesla people are saying that, and I don't mean to just kind of just go along with them, but a lot of times the easier solution, which I think LiDAR kind of is not the long-term solution that works everywhere, and I think that's what Tesla's working on. So yeah, I kind of lean that way. But if either one is successful, um, so my own personal experience with autopilot. I don't know how much I might have talked about this on the podcast or whatever, but my own personal experience with it is it doesn't, especially when I'm on a highway, I don't necessarily feel more comfortable with it on. I think my stress level is actually up a little bit. It's still weird for me to just let the car do its thing. Um, but I would say that I think that the roads would be 1,000 times safer if everybody had a similar system going on in their car. Um, because it's very rarely that the car is doing something that freaks me out. It's always another car like swerving into my lane and that kind of thing. I'm always looking out for the other cars. Um, and I will say this, like, I go outside the lane when I'm driving myself a million times more often than the car does when it's in autopilot. It stays right in between the lanes, which is kind of weird to me. I actually kind of tend to hug, I guess, the passenger side lane a little bit, the right side lane. So I actually don't drive naturally right in the center of the road. I kind of, anyway. And especially when I'm passing a car, I tend to kind of go a little bit to the other side to sort of get a little bit of space, and the autopilot doesn't do that. It just goes right through down the center anyway, and it feels a little close to me, so I get a little freaked out by it. But I do think honestly that if every car had some kind of autopilot system, that it would be better. Okay, so I got some comments coming in. Let me. Andrew asked, find a safe place to store the time capsule video for 2219. No, I guess we'll just have to hope that YouTube is the safe place. So Kyle left a nice comment. Just wanted to say you're the first Patreon I've ever supported, but I love your channel and really learned a lot from your videos. I think, thank you, man. It's very cool. Appreciate that. And that's how I start talking sometimes. Blocked indie sports cars for some reason. Just made it okay. So you're promoting the one that did. Cool. Sean says, I think that later will not simply succeed because of how it looks like consumers will balk it without giving what they could. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, it's not a consumer vehicle, that's for sure. Marcus D, I like the cameras used for autopilot double as security cams. Yeah, that's true. So I have Sentry mode on my car now, and I never remember to put it on. Maybe I need to kind of have that as a default and turn it off when I know it's going to be sitting there for a long time or something. I haven't really used Sentry mode. This is kind of fun because you can. I do have the stick, the dash cam stick in there. So, or Tesla cam, I guess is what they call it. So yeah, you can, like, I'll drive to see a movie and come back home, and I'd never really looked at it before. I was like, what does this look like? So I took it and I plugged it in, and it's just like MP4 files, just like any other video files. And it's like I could come home and plug it in and like see the trip I just took from the dash cam perspective. And you got the front cam and you got the two side cams. I guess those are the only three on there. But that was, I don't know. It's not like something I would do every day or anything. It's a neat little trick. It's kind of cool. It's just like, I want to relive the trip I just took home. You can pop it in and watch it. Also, something I never think about with my car is, and I'm gonna have to get better about this, especially as it gets hotter, is turning on the climate before I go out to it. It's really hot here in Texas. It hasn't really heated up too much yet, but like, I always get out to the car and I open it and the air starts blowing and it's got to cool itself off. And I'm always like, why don't I turn this on as I'm walking out to my car? It could already be, going by the time I get there. What the hell? Anyway, I just never think about it. Let's see. Eric Stott, very close to Scott. What are your thoughts on making the home software in the Tesla an optional feature compared to a standard feature? The home software. I don't know. I don't really use it. Is that like the home link? Is that what it is? I have mine set so that it opens the garage, but my home is not a smart home enough to do that. So my knowledge base is about that big. I need to smartify my home over the next year or so. That's like a plan of mine. Eric asks, what industries do you think will be impacted the most once driverless cars take over? Obviously transportation, obviously. I mean, I said when they first came out with the semi, with the idea for the semi, that might make the most sense out of all of their car lineup, just because people who buy semis, they're business owners. They buy their vehicles as a business expense, and every penny that they can shed in the process of using that truck counts. So I think there's still some hurdles though, because they still don't really have those. I think they're called mega chargers that are actually going to be able to pump up those semis. And right now they got this kind of jury rig thing where you actually plug it into 4 superchargers at once or something. So they still got a ways to go on that, I think. But especially if you could do what were they calling it? The convoy. So you could actually have like, you could basically drive the first truck and have like 2 or 3 just following your truck. So one person could drive 3 trucks, basically. That kind of idea. I mean, to me, that's the most obvious example. And then, of course, you've got the ride-sharing services and whatnot. But there's so much that ties into transportation in terms of goods, postage, groceries. You know, everything has to get somewhere, and I think it's going to impact a lot more things than we think it will, honestly. Paul, who is a member on YouTube, says he loved the telescope video. Question is, how big does a telescope have to be to resolve an Earth-like planet? 50 meters, 100 meters. There's got to be a better way. That's a good question, man. I don't have that in front of me. Sorry. But that is a good question. I keep thinking eventually they're going to have to do, like the way they did I'm not going to have to do, but it would be neat. The way they did the Event Horizon telescope, where they took all these telescopes around the planet, so they got basically an aperture of the planet kind of thing. Imagine if we had telescopes throughout the solar system that maybe stationed in Lagrange points of different planets or something like that could give us an aperture of the entire solar system. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? I would love to see something like that and what it could produce. That didn't really answer a question because I don't really have an answer to your question. But maybe that's the better way. Maybe that's the answer. Okay, we already got some comments coming. Let me try to catch up here. Jonathan Francisco saying hi. Good to see you, buddy. Oh, Sawyer asked, what about adding personality to autopilot, like jerk autopilot? Maybe that's what Mad Max mode is. Actually, I don't think does my car have? If my car has Mad Max mode, I have not put it in it, so I don't know what that is. Michael was asking, what's the battery drain on Sentry mode? We talked about that on the podcast, and Ben had an answer for that. It does definitely drain, I think, was it like 2% per day or something like that? It's more than the regular Phantom drain. But but that's the thing. Like, that's what I was saying earlier. If I go to the coffee shop and I'm in the coffee shop for a couple hours, I mean, unless the car's like on fumes, then no, it doesn't matter. Do electrons make fumes? Unless it's on, unless it's running low, it doesn't really matter. But say if I was going on a trip and I had to fly out of town for a few days and I left my car at the airport, yeah, it might make a significant difference by the time I get back. But that's why I probably should just have it on default and then turn it off in those situations, because it just, or turn it off, when it's at home. You could probably do a location thing on it. Anyway, it does drain it a little bit, but it's not enough. For me, anyway, it still makes sense to have it on when you're just parked in a parking lot at the grocery store or the mall or something like that, because that's where stuff's going to happen to it anyway. Wesley's saying I can set Sentry mode to default. Yeah, I know. And you can do it on the app too. I just haven't done it. So Harry is saying that 100 meters is enough to resolve a nearby exoplanet. Good answer. Thank you. Andrew asked if Tim or Ben or I have ever used the Super Cruise feature on the Cadillac. I haven't. No, I'm curious about it. I've never driven a Cadillac in my life, come to think of it. Let's see. What do I think about using the sun's gravitational lensing as a telescope? As a telescope? I don't know. Does the sun gravitationally lens enough to get any kind of real telescopic vision from it? I don't know that it would. I think you might need something more like a galaxy cluster to really get that. That whenever I think whenever I think of gravitational lensing, I think of a galaxy cluster. That seems to be like that's. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's what I always think of. Is HomeLink them being optional a sign of Tesla struggling financially? I don't know. I don't think so. Convoy system is not new. Oh, yeah, I know. Truck driver. Oh, okay, so Wesley is saying as a truck driver, he doesn't think trucks should or could ever be driverless. That's just because you don't want to lose your job. I'm just kidding. You know much more about that industry than I would, so I would take your word for it. Sawyer's telling me to stop bragging about my Tesla. I'm not bragging. I'm just talking about it. People ask questions about it all the time. So going back to the videos. So yeah, the 7 mega telescopes that will change science. Y'all brought that up a minute ago. That video gave me an idea for another video that I really want to do, and this is sort of along the lines of why I need to get a team together. And by the way, I have spoken to a couple of people just in the last week that are going to come on and kind of we'll try them out, see if they can see if it works. But anyway, yeah, that's part of why I'm wanting to build a team, is because I want to be able. Okay, so I'm in a good what's the word I'm looking for? Haven't had enough coffee this morning. I've got a good consistent flow of videos right now, and I'm happy about that. And it's working, and the channel's growing, and I'm definitely in a growth mode. So I'm just like, let's just keep pumping. But I think there's a plateau that I'm gonna hit if I haven't already, where doing that same thing is going to not grow my channel much anymore, because I just kind of keep doing the same thing, and it does get a little formulaic, and I want to be able to do bigger and cooler things and expand a little bit. But this telescope video gave me an idea, and it was that the mirrors that they're building for the Giant Magellan Telescope, first of all, they're 8 meters across. For comparison, I think the Hubble telescope mirror is only 2.6 meters across. The Giant Magellan Telescope has 7 8-meter mirrors, which is insane, the light collection area. And I don't know the exact reason. I would have to ask, but I don't know the exact reason why they're going with giant 8-meter mirrors. Can't say the word mirror today. As opposed to like dozens of smaller mirrors, like hexagonal honeycomb type mirrors that most the telescopes do. Anyway, I'm researching this video, and I'm hearing about these giant mirrors, and I find out that they are building them at the University of Arizona in a lab that is literally underneath the football stadium. And I was like, oh my God, I have to go there. I have to go there and do a video at this place, because that just sounds really cool. I have so many questions, and I just feel like that would be, they're like the biggest single piece mirrors in the world as far as I know. So I'm talking about this prematurely. This is not like out for the public to know that I'm thinking about this kind of thing. But I really want to do that. And the only way that I can do that is to get ahead on videos, and because I'm just in this sort of constant pumping out videos state right now. Anyway, that telescope video gave me an idea for that video. Something that's frustrating about the telescope subject is the stuff that goes on at Mauna Kea. I am mixed, in my opinion, on like the fact that the native Hawaiians are pushing back, especially for the 30-meter telescope. Oh, by the way, hang on just a second. I gotta show you something. Can't believe I haven't told anybody about this. So yeah, I did this video, and I got a little package in my post office box, and I went to go pick it up, and it's from the 30-meter telescope people. They sent me a little model. They sent this to me in a little note that's like thanking me for talking about them in a video. How cool is that? I clearly haven't even taken it out of the package yet, but yeah, they sent me this little model. I thought that was super cool. But yeah, so the 30 Miller telescope people, they're running into issues because they want to do it on Mauna Kea, and the native Hawaiians, that's like sacred ground for them. And I know a lot of people, because I see it in the comments, are like, oh, like superstition and religion kind of getting in the way of science. And I feel that. I know. I'm there with you. Part of me is. The other part of me, though, is sensitive to indigenous people and the fact that, you know, they had all this land, and they had this whole life, and it was kind of ripped from them. And I don't think it's necessarily just the 30 meter telescope. It's kind of like there was one telescope, and then there was another one, then there was another one, and now there's this other one. And I think it was just sort of like the final straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing, and now they're pushing back on it. It's one of these frustrating topics because I really do see it from both sides. And of course I want to see science advance. Of course I want to see a big badass telescope do big badass science stuff. But I don't, it feels gross to do it at the expense of people and their, you know, their native land and their, you know, anyway, you get the point. So that's a challenging one for me to talk about, which I don't know if y'all notice this or not, but I'm not somebody that has especially strong opinions on a lot of things. I really do try to see things from as many angles as possible. And it would be a lot easier sometimes if I just had a strong opinion. But that's just not who I am. So anyway. All right, so we got some more stuff in the thing, yeah. I should do a live stream with Tim and Ben. Have I considered getting solar on my home? That's from Loaded Tunes. You know, when we were in Florida, we talked about making that video a live stream just because we were all there together, and it seemed like a good opportunity. I think, I don't know. We've never really taken the idea of doing a live stream seriously. It took us so long to kind of get our flow down that once we got it, it was kind of like, let's not screw with that. And as you can tell, every time I do a live stream, there's some weird technical difficulty. So, I don't know. It just kind of seems like a lot to juggle at once. But I think would be cool. Would it be to do a live, like in person kind of thing, and maybe live stream that or record it at least. I was thinking maybe we could do that when we were in Florida, but that didn't pan out. There's been just talk, of doing something like that at Fully Charged Live, which I think is going to be in Austin, or at least it was last time. So, who knows? But the answer about getting solar in my home, I have absolutely considered it. In fact, a friend of mine that I went to high school with sells solar, and I'm going to kind of throw my wife under the bus here. I got really serious about it last year. So last year, I had a couple of videos do really well, and there was some extra money that came in from it. And I wasn't smart about it. There's a lot of stuff we need to do in our home. We've been in our house for 10 years now. And it's kind of a weird situation. We bought this house like right at the dip of the housing market in 2008. I couldn't afford to buy this home now. I couldn't afford to live in this neighborhood now. The home values have gone up. In fact, the taxes have gone up too, so that's another thing. But anyway, lots of stuff needs to be done in our house. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was put solar on it. I mean, obviously, and especially as I was, getting closer to getting this electric car, I wanted to be able to just charge it with the sun. So this friend came, we did this whole, consultation and everything, and she gave us a quote. And it never happened. It could eventually. I think at the time the finances were so up in the air because I had just kind of started doing YouTube full time. I think we're in a better financial place, a safer, more comfortable financial place now. So maybe over the next year we could talk about it. It's always been the problem was, so Okay, there are different rules in different states. So this is how things are here. It might be different where you guys are, but there's a was it net metering is what it's called. So I can't sell energy back to the energy company here in Texas anyway. This is how it was described to me. But you can get a solar system that will offset your electric bill. So basically, instead of paying an electric bill, where I would pay a very minuscule amount on an electric bill just to kind of keep the account alive or whatever, instead of paying that, I would be paying that toward a loan on the solar panels, which to me sounded great because that kind of evens things out because you're not, your electric bill wouldn't fluctuate every month. You'd be making the same payment every month, and it probably would have at least evened out, maybe even been a little bit cheaper. Now, something that I did last year, I'm kind of rambling, but that's why you're watching this, I guess. Last year I did the attic stuff. I put new insulation in the attic, and we did the radiant barrier, got new windows. So that kind of sealed the house a little bit and cooled it off quite a bit. So already our electric bill went down some. So of course the idea was if I had solar panels, and it would really just knock it out completely. I just think at the time, my wife was really nervous about taking out another loan, which is something we would have to do. And I tried to get it across that the net amount of money we'd be spending every month would be the same, maybe even better. Anyway, let's just say it was a fight I didn't win, and it's still something that I want to do, and hopefully in the next year or two that will happen. So yes, I definitely want to do solar in my house. And in fact, I wanted to do a video about all the sort of upgrades that I'm doing on the house for energy efficiency and whatnot. I got footage of putting a smart thermostat in. I got footage of the windows. I got footage on the guys up in the attic. So it's there, and it might turn into a video someday. We'll see. Let me jump down here. Let's see, David McKay. How you doing, David? Maxwell has indicated their technology allows higher power density without changing basic cylindrical cell format. How much might Tesla's current power density increase? I think I'm out of my wheelhouse to try to answer that. You follow up with, as far as you know, the innovation is in how the electrode is made, but cell chemistry isn't changed, so implementation should be relatively simple. And when might it show up in new cars? They just finished that deal. So I kind of like, I feel like you have the antsiness that I have. Like, I really want to see this. Like, I really would love to see these electric cars suddenly have 600 miles of range. And maybe even be cheaper because it's a simpler manufacturing process. But yeah, they just finalized the deal to acquire the company. So, and I know that the dry cell technology was still sort of in the lab. Clearly, it was proven out enough that Tesla felt comfortable spending the money on it. But you also have to retool all the manufacturing and everything, and they're still trying to keep up with the lithium ion batteries. So I think it's going to take a while. It's going to take longer than we wanted to. I mean, hopefully not any more than 2 or 3 years before it really takes hold. But you're talking about some specifics that I would have to look up. I would have to research that. So it would all be speculation for me to talk about it right now. But I'm with you. I would like to see that happen sooner. Harry Evett, who just hit 200,000 subscribers on his awesome channel. Congratulations, Harry. We had a moment on Discord yesterday. I felt like an idiot because I had no idea you were the same person. Anyway, yeah, you asked about the skyscraper that want to hang from an asteroid. I actually probably should have included that in the How Tall Can We Build video, which I guess I could jump into that one. By the way, How Tall Can We Build is the title. And every time I see it like hurts my spine a little bit because I don't think that's good grammar. I don't think that's right. How tall can we build? How high can we build? It just does not feel right. I don't like that. I don't like that title, but I'm not going to change it now because it's doing really well. I probably should have put that. In the video, the whole hanging from a skyscraper thing, which does sound kind of ridiculous to me. I think it's just like a conceptual thing. First of all, you'd have to capture an asteroid, which we've never done before, and then 1,000 other things we haven't done before. So, Sawyer asked if I jumped over his Texas comment. I guess I did. Where is it? By the way, I'm not like one of these people that's like hyper Texan and gets offended by anything. Oh, hey, don't all you Texans have Ford trucks? No, some of us have Chevy trucks. I'll have you know. You know what? On that, I could rant for a second. So Tesla, Rivian, these guys have these really cool electric trucks on the way. I'm a fan of Rivian's trucks, man. They look awesome. I would love to get in one and try it out. I think this is something that Ben and I disagree on, actually, and maybe even Tim. Being from truck country, which Texas is, you're not wrong about that at all. Sometimes things are exactly what you think they are, and that's the case there. Truck owners are very hyper brand loyal. I have no doubt that the specs on the Tesla truck, just like the Rivian truck, are going to be badass. They're going to be awesome. And the specs alone might be enough to make a traditional truck owner kind of be like, "Ooh, that's interesting." But it's 90% of people in Texas who drive trucks do not use them for construction or for any kind of work. They are status symbols. But the status does not lie in the specs necessarily. It has a lot more to do with brand loyalty. It is not uncommon to see stickers on the backs of Chevys with Calvin pissing on a Ford logo and vice versa. Like that is brand loyalty. When you actually have when you have put artwork on your car of something pissing on a different brand. I haven't seen one where they're pissing on Tesla yet, but they're very brand loyal, and it is very much about like, hey, I got my F-150, I got my dual cab, it's got my, I don't know if electric and especially Tesla is going to translate over to that. Now I will say, driving back to my hometown, which is definitely truck country, in my car, I had a lot of people asking, like, do they make a pickup? So I could be wrong. But I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical that truck country folk are going to are going to really jump on the electric bandwagon and on Tesla. I don't know that the status of Tesla translates as well in that part of the world. I'm just saying I got my skepticism up. But we'll see. Who knows? I actually missed a few of these. So Mark, how you doing, Mark? If you could go back to the past with a time machine, but you could make only one round trip, what would be your destination, time, and location? Your question is prescient because Monday's video is about time. And I talk a little bit about time travel there. And how I'll talk a little bit about time travel and how the way it's always depicted is kind of impossible. But I've always said if I could just jump back in time, I wouldn't want to go past like the early 19th or the early around 1900, whatever. I wouldn't want to go beyond antibiotics unless I could bring a big pack of medical supplies with me. It's funny. So my wife and I, obviously we grew up in the 90s and she talks often about wanting to go back to the 90s. Things were better back then and everything. I'm convinced that even though she's not a technology person, she kind of hates technology in a lot of ways. Somehow we're married. I think if she went back to the 1990s, she would be miserable. Like she would immediately be like, what, I can't stream music? What, I can't make a phone call? Or I can't, the way our lives have completely been transformed just in the last 20 years. Like I have a soft spot for the 70s. I was born in the 70s, so I don't really remember much about them, but I feel sure that if I went back to the 70s, I'd just be like, what? What? Can't do anything. So I mean, like, it would be a place I would want to visit. So you say round trip. Yeah, so okay, if I could just visit and come back. Oh man, I don't know. Some of the mid-century stuff that was going on, the design aesthetic and whatnot of the 50s seems pretty cool. I don't know. Certain things, I don't know, I'd have to think about that. Let's see. Oh, Michael's saying that the model will fit into a box. Yeah. I'll eventually. Actually, I might do a live stream and just like assemble this on a live stream or something and make it a social thing. But yeah, I'll probably put it back there. Paul is asking something that really bugs me. SpaceX is pursuing ever bigger rockets. Rockets are dumb, especially considering companies like Skylons are developing space planes that can take off from a normal runway. Rockets also explode sometimes, which is not good. Could you do a video on Skylon? I've not really covered that type of thing. You know what? Let me write that down. This is one of the good reasons for doing live streams, because you guys give me ideas for videos. I did just hear yesterday that Stratolaunch Systems went under. They had a similar kind of thing. They were launching. They had, what was the name of the actual ship? It wasn't Stratolaunch. That was the name of the company. But anyway, no, they would. It was like Virgin Galactic. They go up into the upper atmosphere, and then second part of it takes off. But it was co-founded by Paul Allen from Microsoft, and yeah, they went under yesterday. Like, went bankrupt or closed their doors anyway. Paul, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to look that up. I know from the little bit that I have looked at that kind of thing, the whole secondary launch thing from the upper atmosphere kind of deal. There's a better word for it, skipping me right now. There's some real limitations there in terms of what you can do, especially with payload capacity. But I have not looked into Skylon. You might be shaking your head right now. I would have to look at it. But I appreciate that idea. Let me look at it. Quick hello from North Carolina. Hey, North Carolina. My sister used to live in North Carolina, so I spent a little bit of time there. Okay, so Marcus followed up on that. Regarding space planes, I feel the longer you're fighting atmosphere getting into space, the more fuel. Straight up is more efficient. Reusability is proving possible with conventional launch. Well, yeah. That's the counter argument, I guess. I would have to look up these different, especially Skylon. I've heard of them, but I don't know much about them. So I'd have to kind of like get the details before I could go into that. Yeah, Wesley's saying, can you imagine having to deal with dial-up internet and AOL again? Yeah, I really want to go back to. That was awesome. I think. Joe, ever consider talking about the ancient megalithic monuments around the world that mainstream science has a hard time explaining? Didn't I do that? I feel like I did that. Was that the oldest? I had a video called What is the Oldest Thing? And I think I talked about like the oldest monuments in it. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while. You know what I would love to do is actually go around and shoot footage at those places and talk about it. That would be fun. Clearly I'm wanting to get out from behind this desk every once in a while. Harry says, do you think consciousness exists completely in our brains? If so, is that proof that we can make a conscious machine? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? That's the hard problem of consciousness, as they call it. Could we create a conscious machine? I think, when we talk about AI and like general AI, which is approaching something close to consciousness, the thing that always gets me is that A computer intelligence, is just going to be completely different from the way we think. It is going to be like another species. You know, we look at chimps or even dolphins. They're supposed to be the most intelligent creatures on the earth below us. And we struggle to communicate with them. And they're supposed to be like right below us on the ladder. And so now we're going to have this computer intelligence that might even be a little bit below us, might be even with us, might quickly get way above us. And it's going to have a completely different kind of thinking. Its entire network and its connectome, if you want to call it that, is going to be completely different. It's interesting and it's exciting and it's terrifying and fascinating all at the same time. Like, what are these machines going to think like? It's going to be completely different from what we do. So, okay, some people are pointing up at things here. Greetings from the UK from Ian Castleman. Hey, Ian. Buffering on Real Player. It's download Real Player. Okay, we're just talking. Taking an hour to watch 2-minute video trailer. Okay, so you're only going back to the 90s. I get it. Okay, I'm following. Eric says, I'm not a science geek by profession. Would I like to branch into other passions on this channel? Well, so that's kind of why I started doing the Random Thursday thing. I didn't want to get too pigeonholed into strictly science stuff, especially considering I'm not overly qualified to talk about those topics. You take somebody like Scott Manley. He comes up a lot. You guys bring him up a lot, so I'll bring him up. He's somebody who has studied, teaches, researches, lives, breathes, eats, shits rockets. And he knows every bolt on them. Tim's getting there himself. And I'm not that guy. So I didn't want to get just completely locked into a science thing. So I was like, well, let's do random stuff that I just find interesting. And something that I've kind of learned over time on this channel is I think the people that follow the channel, and especially like you guys that really support the channel, we're just kind of on the same wavelength, and that's why you like what I do. I kind of gave up a long time ago trying to figure out what people like about this channel, and just had to sort of be like, okay, whatever it is I'm doing, people like it, so don't overthink it. I kind of got in my own head for a little bit. So I get asked all the time how I pick topics for the channel, and a lot of it is just gut. It's just, I think this is interesting. I read an article on this and I thought it was fascinating. Like, I guess the way anybody else on social media might find an article and share it on Facebook or Twitter or whatever and think, hey, this is interesting, I'm going to share it. I do that too, but it also often sparks a video idea. It's like, oh, I think this is interesting, I want to talk about this, Generally, I just assume that if I think something is interesting, a sizable percentage of the people who follow me would think the same thing, because we're kind of like this, And that's a beautiful thing. That's awesome. That's kind of I don't know. Gives me hope for the world, I guess. I don't know. But to say that to follow other passions, that's kind of what Random Thursday is all about. Is just kind of following other interests. Passion is a strong word. My passion has always been storytelling and filmmaking and that kind of thing. And you catch these sketches at the beginning of videos every once in a while. That's like a little bit of that. That's a taste of it. And I still would like eventually on this channel to integrate short films, web series, and maybe that could branch off and become its own thing over time. That's still eventually something I want to do. That's still like the dream. So that would be me pulling my passions into this thing. In terms of subject matters, I would call them interests more than passions, but that's kind of splitting hairs. Wesley said I should do a video on how nostalgia is stupid and how we are far safer than we've ever been in the history of humanity. I have talked about that somewhere before. I maybe didn't say nostalgia is stupid, but I somewhere in a video I talked about how we seem to be hardwired to think that things were better back in the old days when in fact as you just said, and I completely agree with you, we are living in the safest time in all of human history. We always think that the world is shit right now, and it was better before, and it's going to hell, and really the trends are going the other way. I mean, and I think I actually caught some flack on it because I talked about there's a lot of problems with capitalism as a system of economics. It does need to be reined in, or else it gets, kind of out of control and actually becomes a little counterproductive sometimes. But even with all the problems that we have in our world, there's been a lot of really good stuff that's come along too. I said somewhere, and there's like, maybe capitalism is a good thing, and then of course, I got called a fascist by a lot of people. How dare I express an opinion? What was I thinking? But no, I totally agree. We're living in the best time ever. We're very lucky to be here when we are. Even though it is such a scary and crazy time, we're getting to see a lot of transformative stuff happening, and we get to be a part of it. And hashtag blessed. What can I say? We're lucky to be here when we are. Sawyer asked, I was talking with my friend yesterday, do you think we are expiring in the sense of deciding? I mean, machine learning how we decide, so we should give up on trying to act as if we are deciding. I'm sorry, that was worded very strangely. I guess what you're asking is, once machine learning reaches a certain point, it's going to make all of our decisions for us? I'm going to interpret it that way. There's what's the quote that I don't remember the actual quote, but there's a quote out there that says something like, a super intelligent AI will be the last thing we ever invent, because it will invent everything after that. And I think that's probably true. That's an interesting take on it. But yeah, well, that's a good question. I think we're already at a point now where technology is supplanting stuff that our brains used to do. There's already arguments being made that schools should be taught differently, because, like, learning history as names and dates, which is a terrible way to learn history, by the way. And my dad was a history teacher, so I can say that. But it's almost gotten to where some people are arguing that you don't have to learn facts in school anymore, because you have the facts with you everywhere you go. You don't need to know that stuff. I don't personally agree with that. I think it's better to have it up here and to be able to recall it, and context means a lot in understanding the world today. But the point is, we're already getting so comfortable with superseding that part of our thinking, our thought process, our consciousness to computers and devices, that the idea that someday we'll just kind of like give up the ghost altogether and just say, okay, well, we'll just let computers run everything. I don't think that's totally impossible. At least amongst certain segments of the population. And in fact, there's people already that are like, we should disband government and just have an intelligent AI run things. And you know what? There's not unconvincing arguments on that side. I'm not there yet, but I've heard arguments on that side that I'm kind of like, it's not the worst point I've ever heard. Gotta be honest. It's kind of like the thing I was saying earlier about, like, if every car had autopilot and was running on autopilot, it's sort of like a herd immunity sort of thing there, that things would be smoother and better. There's a similar argument about that too. So it's that's an interesting topic. Yeah. We've got to back up a little bit. Ian asked, how's the channel growth coming along? Still seeing a consistent growth curve over last year. Honestly, it's okay. Last year was very explosive in terms of growth, mostly because of that severed head video that just went nuts. I mean, I got, when that video took off, I got 50,000 new subscribers in 1 week. It was insane. and it peaked. It kind of blew up a couple of times. It did it again in August, just randomly. So I had a couple of really big spurts last year that really moved things along, and I was kind of expecting something like that would happen again this year. And it's still, well, it's not early. It's already halfway through the year. I mean, it still could happen. The growth has become a lot more steady, and I can't complain about it. It is still growing. It's not growing at the rate that I thought it would. I had talked about how like the channel had doubled twice every year since like 2014. I mean, unless something drastic happens at this point, I don't see it happening this year. It might double once. So I started at the beginning of the year at 350. That would get me to 700 by the end of the year. Well, it's June now, and I'm at 465. I guess I hit earlier. I'm not even at 500,000 yet. So, the growth has slowed, but it is still, on the whole, growing a little bit faster as the year goes on, if that makes sense. So, I mean, it's still going in the right direction. And the reason why I've got this face and I'm equivocating so much is because I'm perfectly happy with the growth that I have, and I'm perfectly happy with where the channel is right now. I think, you know what? Okay. I haven't really made this public, but I guess I could make this public. It's not a big deal. It ties into where I'm going with this. I got offered. No, I didn't get offered. I was approached by the Discovery Channel to do an online show for them. It was a daily online show for the Discovery Channel. I shouldn't have said the word offered earlier. It was definitely not offered, but they reached out to me about it. And I turned them down. Because after looking at what they were willing to pay, first of all, again, it was a daily show. I don't know if I would have even been able to keep doing Answers with Joe anymore. Like if I was still doing Answers with Joe, it would have been like one video a month or something like that. It really would have gone down. So there was that. They were paying less than what my channel is bringing in right now. And I would have had to move to New York. They wanted somebody local in New York to shoot it there at their studio. Which, of course, everybody knows the cost of living in New York is way higher than it is here. So, not to mention I would have to pack up my wife. She would have to find a new job and everything. So it was not a good fit. But it was still exciting and a nice little, I guess, ego boost to have been approached by Discovery for something like that. And the reason why I bring it up now is because when I'm talking about the channel and I'm saying that I am actually very grateful for the way things are right now, and I would like to see the growth be more like it was last year in terms of like being more exponential or whatever. But if you had come to me 3 years ago and said, someday you're going to turn down a job at the Discovery Channel because your YouTube channel is going to be a better opportunity, I don't think I would have believed that. I think I would have thought you were crazy to even suggest such a thing. And yet that's exactly what happened. So, all that is to say, I'm perfectly happy with how things are going on the YouTube channel. The growth is good. It's slowly, this last month was a fairly average month, and it's still doing pretty good. So I really can't complain. That was a long-winded answer for you, but I hope that answered your question. Ryan Gordon, have I done any videos on weird phenomena like chupacabra or those clips of long-limbed aliens or whatever they are? Just out there stuff. I've definitely not talked about chupacabra or Slender Man, or I know what you're talking about though. I've seen those videos. By the way, guys, I am an absolute sucker for that stuff. I really am. I know I'm Mr. Science. I'm Mr. Science on YouTube and skeptic, and we got to have the evidence. But I gotta tell you, man, I love those videos. I love them. There's a channel called Nuke's Top 5. I I don't think I'm even subscribed to him, but I watch his videos so much that they just automatically come up in my feed in the home screen. And he does ghost videos, he does unexplained phenomena videos, weird creatures kind of videos like that people submit to him or that he finds on YouTube and whatnot. I effing love that stuff. I really do. I'm skeptical about them, as I think any, science-minded person should be. But they're fun. They're so much fun. So no, I don't think I've actually done a video on like chupacabra and that kind of thing. Cryptozoology, cryptids. What's the right word? You get the idea. I don't know. If you guys are interested, I might do that. They're fun. Why not? But no, I don't think I have done that before. Eric said, why don't we see short films on the Random Thursday then? Exactly. Exactly. That's what I want to be doing. I just gotta keep going back to this. So I don't want to whine. I'm not complaining. Like I just said, I'm so happy with the way things are going on the channel, but it is just an absolute grind. Always, like I'm always on a deadline of putting videos out. And to that note, I may have said this here before, so if I'm repeating myself, apologies. But I shot a short film that I planned to release on the channel over a year ago now. It was last spring. It was like May or March of last year, or April or May. Anyway, still haven't edited it. Still haven't even started editing it because I'm just so busy trying to get the other videos out. And it's 100% my fault. There's some editors that I've reached out to that they've just kind of been too busy to get to it. And I've just been too busy to really, it's just been on the permanent back burner. And I feel bad because a lot of people helped me out with it. And I think it's a great idea. I don't know exactly how well it's going to come together until I edit it, but this is not the first time I've done this, and I hate this about myself. I shoot things, and then they just sit there forever. Because I just get busy. But that's the idea. If I, as some of you know, I do have a writer named Ryan that helps me out with some of these videos. He gets credited at the end of them. The telescopes one he helped out with. Actually, so I could just go. So Ryan helped out with the telescopes one. He helped out with the, he helped with the quantum computers one. And actually, there's two of them that have already been finished and scheduled out that he helped out with. And basically what he does, he's a monster researcher. He's like I think his videos actually do pretty well on the whole on the channel because they are super dense with information. I mean, he does way more research than I do. I'm going to be honest with you. But what he does is he kind of like takes it and he writes it out. He writes more like article form. He's actually he makes a living as a ghostwriter. He writes books for famous people who don't actually who just not very well kept secret is that like all these books that you see by celebrities on the bookstore, almost none of them are actually written by the celebrities. They're actually written by ghostwriters, and then the celebrities read them and say sure, and they put their name on it and they make money. That's what Ryan is. I could not tell you some of the books that he's written, but he's written some for people that you've heard of. And anyway, but that's kind of the way he writes. And I kind of have to take that and translate it into my presentation style. And I throw my humor and my jokes in there. And it basically skips a lot of steps. And sometimes he gives me videos and I read through it and I'm like, this went over my head. We got to sit down and talk about it. So we do a little Skype. And he helps me kind of understand it a little bit better. And I follow his links and his research, and I kind of figure it out myself. But point is, it does save time. And so I've now talked to a couple of other guys, that I'm friends with. And I'm going to try them out. Don't know how well it's going to work. It's a very weird, fluid thing. I've actually had a few different people that I've tried this with before Ryan, and it's working with him, and it just kind of didn't with them. So it's a hard thing to pin down. But anyway, so I've talked with a couple of guys, and my hope is that I could get 3 or 4 writers / researchers that are kind of feeding me scripts that I can then kind of turn them into my own voice. Obviously, they're topics that I pick, and I tell them what direction I want these, videos to go in. But it's just sort of a way to create a little bit of wiggle room and a little bit of space so that I can focus on bigger projects. So I can kind of like have a machine over here cranking out, the regular Monday and Thursday videos at a certain level of quality. That's very important to me, to maintain that level of quality, which is why it has not worked with most people that I've tried to do this with. And then with that wiggle room, I could do things like the giant mirror thing over in Arizona. I could do things maybe like going around and shooting video at all the different megaliths. I would love to do something at Stonehenge and whatever, like Petra, is that what that is, over in Jordan? Like stuff like that. I would love to be able to like do big projects like that. In this short film, other short films, you get the idea. So it's all tied together for me, and it's kind of a weird rock and hard place situation right now. But it's okay. I mean, again, I'm not trying to sound complainy. I'm really happy with the way things are, but it's just sort of that's where the growth is having to go. And it's a long-term thing. And I'm thinking by the end of the year, hopefully I can kind of get things where I want them. So anyway, very long answer to that question. So Eves Gerard? I hope I'm saying that right. I was just going to mention how great it would be to see you include more of your video film. Oh, there you go. And knowledge into your videos. You just mentioned you intend to. Okay, cool. I'm glad you're on board. Paul says he's got to run. Thanks for the hard work. Have a good weekend. You too, Paul. You're probably not even seeing this because you're probably gone. Veronica was talking about the Discovery Channel thing. Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird situation. I never would have thought I would have said no to them. Man, I think I missed a whole bunch of stuff. Wait, let me go back here. My wife always fantasized about living in Victorian times until I showed her what the state of feminine hygiene was. Yeah, Victorian times just sound like a waking nightmare. Slow and steady growth is better than wins the race, better than depending on random. Yeah, so that's Ian. I agree. And that's the thing. Like, even when I had those big boosts last year, it always followed by a giant dip because the algorithm has to kind of realign itself. And this is, I feel on the whole, it's a little bit better because it's sort of like just this regular, like giant success one month doesn't cause dips the next month. It's just sort of like steadily going up, so it's good. It's good. Pick a topic like how episodic our lives are becoming and create a video by using all of your fast side edits and have them begin to have a conversation about it. That's from Andrew. Pick a topic. Create a video by using all of your fast... The asides meaning like random or tangent cam? That one went past me. I'm sorry. I'm gonna move on. I don't know exactly what you meant by that. Maybe you can explain later. Do I associate with Mulder or Scully? Asks Eric. Oh man, that's a good question. I think I'm a little bit of both, honestly. I used to be much more Mulder. I used to very much be the truth is out there. I used to believe in any UFO or ghost kind of thing. I was really into it. But, I've mentioned this on here before. I joined a ghost hunting team one time for a few years there. It's been a while. It's been a long time. But I did it because, growing up, I always heard ghost stories. I was always fascinated about ghost stories. Every family member had a ghost in their house except for me. I felt very left out by it. And, but I never saw one. I wanted to see one. I wanted to see it for myself. which I think is a science-minded way of approaching the world, is saying, like, I don't want to just take everybody's word for it. I want to examine it and study it and see it for myself. And I joined this ghost hunting group and I had a good time. And we stayed overnight in some really creepy old houses and places. I met some interesting, kooky people. But I gotta say, never saw a ghost. I never saw a ghost. And so my skepticism might even be higher than most people's, because I've made a genuine effort to see one of these things. But I still like I like a good ghost video. I can't help it, you know? So I love that stuff. I do love that stuff. So I'm somewhere in between Mulder and Scully. I know that's a cop-out to answer it like that, but it's true. Sawyer said, I think you can do something like Scrubs, sketches of what is going on in your head when you talk about a subject. I did something one time that I wanted to make sort of a regular feature on the channel. I called it Inner Voice, where I did like the sort of a split screen thing. So I was like over here and Inner Voice guy popped up over here. So it was like I would say something and then Inner Voice would pop in and say what I was really thinking. That was a little gag that I tried once upon a time. I found that those sort of those split screen things are actually a little bit, they're actually more difficult than you think because of the lighting, actually. Because, you know, you can split the screen. You can split the screen and have, you know, me kind of come in over here, but the shadow that I'm casting over here will show up in the background. And I just found it to be a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. I know Wheezy Waiter makes it look easy, but I don't know. I haven't done the split screen thing in a while just because it's extra time, and that's one thing I just don't have much of. But that was a gag that I wanted to do once upon a time. The video that got me to follow you was the one with the bathroom. Oh, that was, yeah, that was the black holes one. That one, it's funny, I look back on it now, I think I was a little over dramatic about it. I was trying to really, like, flex my acting chops. But, yeah, well, it must work, because I've had a lot of people who've referred to that over time. Is the short film star the not Joe's wife actor playing Joe's wife? I think that could have been worded differently. My wife has absolutely no interest in acting, so there's your answer to that. Right, but those short stories in, this is Eric, those short stories in Where You Really Want to Be? I'm not following. I would like to be able to do more short films and feature films and whatnot. What do I think of BoJack? I don't know what BoJack is. Ribbon is on here. I've seen you in Discord. Hi, Ribbon. Last week I was watching through many of your videos, kind of like a podcast while at work. Every time I clicked on another video, you had like 10 new subscribers. It's been good. It's been a good week. I think the last 7 days in a row, I've had over 1,000 new subscribers. I'm on a good run right now. Anya Hofkes. I'm terrible with names, guys, clearly. Hi, Joe. Thanks for doing your thing. Greetings from Madrid. Hi. I got stranded in Madrid on my way to Italy. Twice, actually. So I've seen Madrid's airport and a lot of it, but I haven't been outside of that. Actually, I would love to actually go to Spain and spend some time there. Spanish is like the only language I have even a remotely any coherence of. But the funny thing is, over here, like, you learn Spanish, but it's not the Spanish that the people around here speak, you know? Like, I probably learned more accurate local Spanish from working in restaurants than I did in 4 years of taking Spanish in high school and college. They teach you Spain Spanish, not, you know, Tex-Mex Spanish, what they speak over here. It's kind of frustrating. You spend all this time learning this language and it does you no good. Wesley's asking about the cat, how things are going with the cat. Things are good. Things are good. Honestly, I think the thing that's made the biggest difference is I put a second litter box out in the living room. He has a litter box in the laundry room, which obviously we want to keep it in there because we don't want his piss and shit in the living room. But once I put a second box in the living room, I don't think we've had any major accidents since then. Knock on wood. So basically, I just have to clean it out every day and make sure and move it when people come over. Thankfully, that's not very often. But no, things are better with him. I mean, it got to sort of a crisis point for a while there, but I think it's okay now. Wayne Bowers. Hey, Wayne, I love your short films, and when you add in quirky clips of you being two different people, the combo of the science in your short films is what made you want to be a Patreon member. Oh, cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I want to do more of that. So, I always worry that it's going to be a weird mix to do narrative and informational stuff, but and that's why I'm not trying to like just jump from one thing to another. I'm trying to sort of integrate and transform and evolve over time. But we'll see. I appreciate that sentiment, though. Thank you. Ryan says he had a ghost in his last house. She would turn on the lights and open doors and even visibly sat on the bed a couple of times, like the mattress and blankets would depress on their own. Ooh. See, I love that stuff. I mean, you probably don't love it. I've just never experienced it myself. Eric loves the tangent and super tangent, uber tangent cams. It was the Columbus video that I did. That was the one where I did a whole 360 of tangent cam, double tangent cam, triple tangent cam, and then came back around. That was fun. Excuse me, just burped. Chris LeCoeur. Aside from PBS and How the Universe Works, your show is the only one that my wife lets all my kids watch without a screen time limit. Oh, thank you. See, that's why I've already thrown out the word shit a few times in this video. On my second channel, the TMI channel, I let some expletives fly from time to time. Truthfully, truthfully in real life, I curse, guys. I do. I don't just do it like out in public, loudly in a restaurant or anything, but around friends and around people who I know it doesn't bother. It comes right out. Curse words are definitely a part of my language. But two things. Three things. Three things. Let me add a fourth thing. We got a fourth. Get a five. No. For one thing, I know a lot of people watch my channel with their kids. I actually have friends who watch my channel with their kids. And I'm aware of that, and I don't want to, I want to make sure it's kid friendly, and I want to make sure people feel comfortable letting kids watch this. Second thing, YouTube has gotten really strict about the language with AdSense revenue for whatever reason. Didn't used to be quite so bad. By the way, one of the videos that I did in the last month got sort of demonetized, and that was the repressed memories one. No idea why. No clue why. It's not unusual for YouTube to kind of hit it with a demonetized, it's not a strike, but it's not unusual for them to demonetize for some random reason that the algorithm picks up. I had one video one time that got demonetized because the little auto caption feature that Google has, the little dictation thing, picked up an F word, an F-bomb, even though I didn't actually say an F-bomb, but it said that in the caption, so I got demonetized for it. But the point is, like, 99.9% of the time, you challenge the demonetization, an actual human being watches it and says, oh, okay, this is fine, and it goes through. This one got confirmed by manual viewing. For some reason, they felt that my repressed memories video was not suitable for advertisers. And I've not gotten an answer as to why. It's absolutely baffling me. So that's partly why I don't use curse words quite so much in my normal videos. So there's those two reasons. A third reason is that I do actually use curse words, but I bleep them out. Frankly, I just think that's funnier. I think that bleeped curse words are just funnier. I think sometimes what your brain fills in, even though you know what the word is, your brain filling in that gap just makes it funnier, you know? Anybody who has a channel where they just curse, it just becomes white noise after a while. It has no effect anymore. But if you never curse and then you throw out an F-bomb at a really emotional point where you're really trying to get people's attention, it gets people's attention. They go, whoa, So it can be effective. So my whole thing, and goes back to my screenwriting as well. Like, if you're going to use curse words. Don't just throw them out there, or have one character that curses a lot and one character that doesn't curse at all or whatever. Like, it has to mean something. Anyway, so you mentioned your kids watching. That I went down a whole rabbit hole there. Sorry about that. But I appreciate that. I'm glad your kids like it. Like I said, I have a friend from high school who like watches my channel with her kids, which is neat. Have I ever thought about or been approached about going network? Asks Chris. Well, you may have missed what I said earlier. I was approached by Discovery and it didn't work out. But I mean, ultimately, they talk about YouTube. You kind of have to have an exit strategy because it's not something you're just going to do for the rest of your life. It has to sort of become something over time. And it might spawn some Netflix stuff or Hulu stuff or whatever. I think even if I really like went off and did some big project like a film or a Netflix show or something like that, again, kind of part of building a team around this is having a machine that can kind of keep content coming, even if the consistency might go down a little bit. It might go down to once a week or once every 2 weeks or something like that. I would still want to maintain some kind of presence on this channel for the foreseeable future. But yeah, sorry, went off on a lot of things. Clone Joes need to have semi-regular cameos. So I'll be okay, man. We're already an hour and a half in. You guys doing okay? You hanging in there? You good? I need another sip of coffee. Just spilled that on me. I'm gonna keep going for a little bit longer, but I do have videos I need to record after this. So yeah. So the clones thing. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, like I said earlier, it's a little bit more challenging than it looks to do those. The second thing is I was really torn because on one hand, I kind of want the channel I want memes to kind of happen. I'm not asking you guys to go out and create memes and put them out on Imgur or whatever. I'm just saying, like, when something hits and it strikes a chord with people and they want to see more of it, when it becomes a thing, that's kind of the best way I can put it. When it became a thing, I did the cloning video and I got a lot of people that were like, I want to see more of this. And in the videos that followed, they were like, is this the real Joe or the clone Joe? And I love that. I absolutely love that. And I want sort of threads like that to go across the channel. And when I talked earlier about maybe doing videos in seasons, that kind of plays into it as well, to be able to have sort of narrative threads that go throughout several videos kind of thing. And maybe it's clones, maybe it's some other thing. I don't know. Point is, I really wanted to follow up on that and sort of continue that clone thing because people really seem to like it. But there were just as many people that were like, this is Wheezy Waiter. And if you don't follow Wheezy Waiter, he's a channel that, I don't know, he's probably in the 700,000 range subscribers right now. He's one of these channels that's not the biggest channel out there, but he's very influential and he's very popular and well-known. And the whole clones thing is definitely something he does a lot. It's a big part of his channel. And it is something that's kind of become a narrative thread throughout a lot of his videos, and I like that. And I want something like that, but I don't want to do something that's totally derivative of somebody else. So, and the thing is, the channel is now getting to the size to where I can't do the same thing other people are doing anymore. You know, like when I had 10,000 subscribers and I was doing a clone kind of thing, people might be like, oh, yeah, it's funny. Wheezy Waiter does that, but you did a good job. But yeah, way to go, man. But now it's just like, you're just trying to be Wheezy Waiter, you know? And you might tell me just to ignore those comments, but I don't want to be seen that way. I want to kind of have my own thing. And the cloning thing it fit because it was a video on cloning. But I really wanted to. I was really torn because people really seemed to want to see more of that, but I didn't want to. I've already explained it. And I'm saying right. So Ryan hashtag more clones. So clearly people like this. See, I'm super torn on it. I hope. Do you guys understand? Like, do you understand why I don't want to? I don't want to come off as doing something that somebody else is doing. Anyway, clearly I'm torn, as you can tell. I'm Natalie and Bruglia over here. What a 90s reference. Okay. Let me swing through some of these. By the way, let me look back on these videos. Was there anything in any of these that really stuck out that I wanted to talk about? The H.H. Holmes video, the serial killer video, didn't do as well as I would have thought. But the quantum computers one did really well. There's a guy, oh my God, dude, I'm sorry. I cannot think of your name right now, but there was a gentleman in Discord on the Patreon side who was talking about doing a video on cold fusion or linear low energy nuclear reactors. I don't know if he kind of works on that kind of thing or if he knows people that does or if he researches it. Anyway, he was really big on Rob Christensen. That was his name. I knew it would come to me. He shared a lot of information about it. And I'll be honest, I'm thinking about covering it. It might be a couple of months before I get to it. But, man, whenever I talk about fusion, those videos do really well. Or any kind of, yeah. So quantum computers, same thing. The only reason I brought that one up again was because last year I did a quantum computers video and it did really well. So I kind of looked back over the last year. I was like, well, maybe I should revisit that. And I know that quantum computer news is like, there's always something, like I'm always seeing something new about quantum computers. So it was something that was easy to update. I will say the blockchain video that I did last year did really well. And I wanted to follow that up with a, blockchain update, like what kind of things have been going on in blockchain since I did that last year. And I got to be honest, I did a little bit of looking around and researching just really quickly. There wasn't a lot to talk about that I hadn't already. I mean, if any of you guys are experts in it, please reach out to me on Patreon or whatever. Because I am curious in talking about that, and I do get requests for it every once in a while. I'm just saying, I did a little bit of research, and I really couldn't find enough to make a video out of. So I haven't yet, but it's still on the table anyway. Okay, so Wesley's saying we need a Joe Rants and Joe Goes on Tangents channel where once a week he's let loose on a random subject, like what grinds your gears, like CNBC or whatever. My dogs are barking. Did my wife just come home? It's probably the male guy. Do you mind? That's kind of what my TMI channel is, I feel like. And I've been really bad about uploading on there lately. Just, again, because lately I've just been in total cram mode trying to get stuff ready for this upcoming trip. I guess, you know what? Yeah, so my wife and I are going to Europe. Next Wednesday, we're leaving for Europe. We're coming back on the 15th. So I had to get, all those videos done before we left. So it's been total crunch time, which means I haven't posted anything on the TMI channel. And I've totally given up on keeping any kind of consistency on there. I feel like every video starts with, sorry, I haven't posted in a while, guys. And I finally just said, you know what? I'm just going to post when I post. And yeah, you can just deal. But that's kind of what that channel's for, honestly. So it kind of already exists. I've just been really shite about uploading it. Have you ever thought about collaborations with any similar YouTubers? Yes. Have you been truly happy? I have been truly happy at the surge of educational channels and a joke crossover. We'll get some great. Yeah, okay. I need to be doing more collaborations, definitely. I'm trying to get one set up for this next month. Hang on. Have I gotten an email from her? I'm trying to get one set up for this month. But so far it has not happened. I'm literally checking my email right now to see if I've heard from this person. And the answer is no, I have not. I agree. I need to be doing more collabs. Collabs are tricky. A lot of times it's just kind of hard to get schedules together. It's funny because I'm in this weird place right now where it's either the channels that I know and I approach or could collab with, they're either way smaller than me or they're way bigger than me. I'm in this weird place in the middle right now. And that doesn't really matter to me. Like if I found a channel that had 10,000 subscribers, but its content was absolutely brilliant, I would be more than happy to collab with them just to get more people to watch their channel. And I have done that before actually. But, and also it really just comes down to, is it something you guys would like? Is it something that you would get value out of? Is it a channel that you would be interested in following, or whose information I think supplements what I talk about really well, or I supplement what they talk about really well? That's really what it all comes down to for me. And I need to be better about it. Every year I'm like, I'm going to do a collaboration every month, and then I never actually follow through with it. But yes, I need to be doing more of that. All right, I'm going to skip down a little bit. I might have missed a few. Oh, my dog just woke up Michael's dog. Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it when somebody walks across the street and the dogs across the street start barking, and that makes my dog start barking. They don't even know what they're barking at. They just start barking. Chris, of course, says, don't let an irrational need to be completely original cause you to dump a popular and fun concept just because other people do it too. Okay, going back to the clones thing. Yeah, it's a fair point. All right, I'll take it. Russell asked if there'll be TMIs from Europe. I will not be posting while I'm there. Surprisingly, my wife was like, if you want to take some video, it's okay. She's normally very like, be in the moment. Which I agree with. Honestly, I'm really bad about doing travel logs because I am generally more of a, I don't want to live my life through this screen. I want to actually like experience it. I plan on shooting footage and taking pictures, and I might make a video out of that when I get back. But I'm not going to be like vlogging from there necessarily. I don't think so. If I stop by the Bay Area, I'm sure many of your subscribers can show you around. I'm sure many of them work on research, lab, or startups, or many of those subjects. I like the Bay Area. I need to go back over there. And Melissa agrees with Chris. Just because another person does clones does not mean that I can't. You didn't do it just because he does it. I know. There's also, again, there's the fact that it takes a little bit more time to do. It's not just the Wheezy Waiter thing. It's also just a straight up time thing. I even don't do tangent cams any more than I do because, and I know this sounds super lazy, guys, but I have to set up my GoPro over here, and I got to take the thing out, and I got to put the thing, and I got to sync the thing, and I send it, and it's just extra steps, and I am like all about cutting down on the steps as much as possible so I can just get the stuff out. And maybe that's just a lazy thing. Maybe that's just me finding reasons to not do stuff. But I do need to be doing more tangent cams because that is definitely my thing. That's my thing. And if you see Wheezy Waiter do it, you tell them. No. Woohoo for the Bay Area for Grease Monkey Chick. Okay, let's see. What else we got? Do I think thorium will ever take off? Okay, here we go. France is the cheapest energy because of their nuclear adoption. Have you done a video on the benefits of thorium? I have done that, actually. Yeah, it's been a while. Thorium is, again, one of these topics that... there's a lot of topics that I'm interested in that I think are worth talking about, but they get into tinfoil hat territory really quickly. What I've heard from people who actually work in nuclear physics in one way or another is that the general... what am I trying to say? I'm really trying to be diplomatic with my words here. the way thorium is being presented oversimplifies things quite a bit. This is what I've been told. Okay, so don't shoot the messenger. But the way that thorium usually gets presented as this like cure-all, that's the best way to go, and especially the big conspiracy holding it down by big interests and whatnot. The way it's been explained to me is like, it's just not as simple as a lot of people think it is. There's a lot of downsides to it. And there's a lot of retooling that has to happen. It's not as efficient. There are practical reasons why thorium hasn't taken off any more than it has. That doesn't mean I don't think it's worth exploring. I think everything is worth exploring. I don't think we have the benefit of being picky right now. We need to find as many solutions as we can. So I'm all for thorium research, and I'm all for somebody putting a thorium reactor out there and really putting weight behind it. And I did the video on thorium a while back, and I had some people, I think probably since then, maybe because of that did reach out to me, and they were like, good video. We appreciate your take on it. However, there's this, and that's kind of what I just explained. Do I think it will ever take off? I don't know. Again, I would like to see it take off. I would like to see any kind of new energy do its thing. And as much as I love this Chernobyl show, I kind of hope it doesn't turn everybody against nuclear power, because I do think it has its place. Like every source of power, it's got its drawbacks, but its drawbacks are not the ones that are the big problems that we're dealing with right now. And I think there's stuff that can actually be done with the nuclear waste and other kinds of see, this is why, again, the Leonard stuff, the fusion stuff, thorium, there's a lot of nuclear power stuff out there that is really exciting, that's worth talking about, and I think it clearly shows in the views those videos get. So I might go back and revisit thorium again at some point. It's been a while. It's been like 2 years since I did that video. So Michael's asking if I got a fusion update coming. No, because I just did one like a couple months ago. But like I said, Rob Christensen shared a bunch of stuff with me about the Leonard low energy. It's kind of a cold fusion thing, which is actually kind of interesting because everything kind of blew up in the 80s, but it kind of turns out that there's still people that are working on similar technology that I'm not all that familiar with. I still need to do the research on it, but that could be on the way. That could be on the way in the next couple of months or so. You know what? I might need to go ahead and start wrapping this up. Okay, so Ryan and Chris just said I need a good editor. I have an editor. My buddy Nick, he edits all my stuff for me. Maybe you're talking about the cloning thing. It's more than just the editing. It's the timing. It's the split screen thing. You guys are really gonna keep laying into me on this clone thing, aren't you? We're not letting you get off the hook on that one. Okay, so I think. Oh, so Chris is saying that it already turned his wife against it. She wants to move to some imaginary isolated place where we have to make our own everything and have no nuclear devices. And it's funny because, okay, yeah, I'm gonna tell a quick story. Tell you what, how about I wrap up with this story? By the way, if you are not watching Chernobyl, if you don't have HBO, I get it. I didn't have HBO for the longest time, but now I've got that HBO Now thing. It is spectacular. It is such a good show. And my little story about Chernobyl is that the guy who is the creator behind it, his name is Craig Mazin. Craig Mazin is the co-host of a podcast called Script Notes that he co-hosts along with a guy named John August. Me as a screenwriter, I've been doing the screenwriting thing forever. I've been listening to this podcast literally for years and years. Anybody who follows me on Twitter, I did a whole rant about this yesterday, so I'm repeating myself here. But so John August, Craig Mazin, these two guys, they run this podcast. John August has a pretty awesome resume. He's worked with Tim Burton. He did Big Fish. He did, Corpse Bride, I want to say. He's done like big Disney franchises. He did the remake of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which wasn't my favorite movie, but it's a big movie, right? He's done these like big films. Whereas Craig Mazin, very knowledgeable guy. He's really opinionated and really funny, and I've been enjoying watching him on or listening to him on this podcast for years. But his resume is a bit more lowbrow, let's say. Hangover 2 and 3, Scary Movie 3 and 4, that kind of stuff. Between the two of them, let's just say John August had the more impressive resume. And Craig's was kind of like, he's a working screenwriter and he knows what he's doing, but he's not, winning any Oscars or anything. And then Chernobyl comes out. And I see that created by Craig Mazin, and I'm like, what? I did not know he had this in him. Like, he actually responded to my Twitter rant last night. I think I offended him, actually, because he responded with a GIF that was like, thanks. I don't know, I just kind of laughed it off. But the point is, I've been following the guy for years. I'm a fan of the guy. I actually met him one time. I actually met him at the Austin Film Festival. I had a script that placed there. I went. He spoke at a panel. I went up to him afterwards, told him how much I liked the podcast and been listening to him for a long time. He talks on the podcast often about the fact that he was Ted Cruz's roommate, Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, lizard in a human skin suit. He was his roommate in college at Princeton, I believe. And he has some stories. He describes him as the worst human being he's ever met. Anyway, so I went up to him afterwards and I basically told him I love the podcast. Thanks for doing blah, blah, blah. And I said, I said as a Texan, I apologize for Ted Cruz. He got a laugh out of it. We had like a 5-minute conversation. It was nice. He was a nice guy. But I didn't know he had something like this in him. And seeing it come out and seeing it, I mean, literally IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, somebody shared this on Facebook and I went and looked. It is now the top rated TV program or show or miniseries or whatever ever on IMDb. And all these people are talking about him. He's getting all this press and his face is showing up everywhere. And it's so exciting for me to see this happening for him. And I couldn't be happier. I'm really curious to see where this goes. And as somebody who has always wanted to do bigger things than I'm doing, I'm really happy with this YouTube channel, guys, and having you guys being a part of this whole community. The fact that there is sort of a community that's grown up around it is so endearing, and I love it. It's something I didn't think I would like so much, but there is still that part of me that wants to do bigger things like films and series and stuff like that. And seeing somebody like Craig Mazin, who has kind of been doing smaller things for most of his career, finally get this big break and finally get to show the world what he's capable of, and seeing it really take off and do so well, it's thrilling, man. I really feel it, and I'm so happy for him. So anyway, that's my rant on Chernobyl. I'm a little bit more personally, I feel a little bit connected to Chernobyl because I've been listening to this guy on his podcast for so long and sort of following his career, and seeing this happen is just awesome. So anyway, yeah, so Chris is saying if you're not watching Chernobyl and are a human person, then you need to be watching it. It's fantastic. That should be everybody's assignment. Yeah, totally agree, man. Like, again, kind of knowing the guy, I don't know him. It's not like we hang out, but sort of knowing the guy who did it, and it's just like, wow, I did not see that coming. I had no idea he had that in him. It's so cool. Anyway. So sis boom ba rah rah rah. I think that's a good place to sort of wrap things up. Went for about 2 hours here, and I hope this was valuable to you guys. I hope you liked it. I hope it wasn't too rambling and weird. Again, I'm still up for any ideas you guys have on these live streams, things you would like to cover. Like I said, I kind of wanted to go through all the videos and just sort of talk a little bit about each one. I don't know, maybe in the future I can prepare. What a thought. And maybe like write down some stuff that maybe didn't make it to the videos. stuff that I learned that I didn't know before, behind the scenes type stuff. You know, I could do a little bit of that, and maybe that would be helpful. But I'm up for ideas. You guys please do share. And yeah, I'll schedule the June. We're just now in June. I'll schedule those later. But like I said, I'm going to be pretty much out of pocket until the middle of the month. So it's going to be toward the end of this next month before I start to do these again. And until then, I hope you guys enjoy the videos that do come your way. Actually, the next few Monday videos, I think you guys are going to like. I do. I was actually chatting with Nick, my editor, last night, and I was like, is it just me, or are these next few videos kind of cool? And he was like, no, I think these are awesome. So I think you guys will like them too. They're getting into a bit more not woo-woo territory, brain bucket territory. More quantum physics, more time travel, that kind of stuff. So anyway, you guys are saying goodbye in the live chat. I'm saying goodbye to you. Thank you guys again. Let me go find the place to get out of here. There we go. Last time I did this, I couldn't. I closed the window where I get out of the thing, and I sat here for like 5 minutes trying to open it because my computer's slow. Anyway, you guys take care. Love you guys, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.